Ping pong.
Ping
Good evening,
pong.
everybody.
ส
Hi.
วัสดีครับให้ค่ะ
Yes. It is a wonderful Friday night once again, and welcome to another episode of Geeks at Sea. Joining me here today is a very, very special friend of mine. He is, in his words, a legendary MC from Thailand. And
Okay, you go.
and one of Thailand's upcoming big boy podcasters, Pochi Tak.
Hello สวัสดีครับ
Yes.
To be honest it's not how should I put this when people calling me like oh you're a legend. No, I'm not a legend. I'm just the guy who working
You're just
like
old. You're just
20
old.
years for 20 years and still on the industry, that's all.
All right. So, anyways, okay. So, for those who are first time here joining us here today, I just want to do a couple of quick introductions and a couple of quick disclaimers. Like, first and foremost, if you've never joined us before, Geeks at Sea is a small little project I do on this little channel of mine. I usually do a lot of like game-centric stuff and stuff like that. But Geeks at Sea is a very special thing where I pull in people that I know that's been in the industry for a while, either as a participant or as some sort of organizer or some sort of creator of some sort, and we go to start talking about how things have changed, how we got introduced to the things that we love, the geeky hobbies and interests that we have, and how we sort of grew up with it, and that's how it's led us to do the stuff that we do. Give me a show. I just realized I didn't reduce the volume of my background music, so it's a bit louder than it should be.
Really? I don't know. I didn't watch your stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, okay. So that's so that's what Geeks at Sea is about. So at its best, it is a wonderful it's a wonderful historical document over our experiences and all that kind of stuff. At its worst, it's just nostalgia bait, and you'll just be listening to two old people talking about their good old days.
We are Otaku. It's
yes.
not just Otaku, but it's all. We already, bro.
Yeah. So Pochi introduced me to that term for the first time when we were discussing about this podcast very specifically.
Yeah.
And I completely fell in love with it. I'm going to use it more often as much as I can. Otaku it is. Right. So
Yeah.
Right. So a special additionally to that, just a couple of quick disclaimers. Number one, as I've every session I start off with every session basically highlighting that we're going to be sharing a lot of personal stories here. A lot of the stories are based on our personal experiences, basically things that we live through. So because all these are based on our personal experiences, documentation is kind of not quite there, so we're a little bit old, our memories are not always perfect, so sometimes some things are not going to be very precise. You can come up to me and say after the stream or something, you go like, hey Jared, Pochi, you on stream you said that 50,000 people attended this event. Actually there was 53 or there was 72 or something like that, and the odds are you are probably right. Because the fact is, we are going to be calling out all these numbers off the top of our heads, and sometimes, having gone through as much as we have, our memories are going to be a little fuzzy, huh? Okay. So that's
Some of the event is like 10 years ago. So
yeah, I know, right?
Our memory sometimes is a bit blurred. Right. That's all. But we trying to doing as much as possible to remember the event.
Exactly. So that's number one. And then number two, we both me and Pochi, we've been involved in a lot of different organizations. So sometimes when we talk about things, it's going to sound like as though we're representing organizations. I need to flag out that we are not. We're going to talk about stuff that's really purely from our own perspective. So we are not representing any organization at all. So don't take anything we say, our opinions or impressions or anything else like that as like words of those organizations. So if, say, for example, a long time ago, I used to be helping out Comic Fiesta very actively. If I tell you today and say like, this cosplayer is not very good, or I like that cosplayer more, whatever shit there is, right? So like they are not representations of Comic Fiesta's opinions on these kind of things. I need to flag that out very clearly as an example. Okay?
Understand.
Right.
Okay.
So two big disclaimers out. I want to add one extra thing though. For those who are joining us for the first, this stream is also very, very unique for two other reasons. Number one, this is Pochi's first ever all English stream.
Please
So
spare me. English is not my. I'm from Thailand, so English is not my mother tongue.
so we may go back and forth a little bit to try and help him along to get to the point. So please don't nitpick his English, all right? So that's number one. All right, don't
That's number
nitpick his
one.
English
Then
too-
what is
too
number
much.
two?
Number two, for those who want a very interesting experience and like to listen to us in stereo surround sound, you can join both me and Pochi stream at the same time because he's parallel streaming on his channels. His links are all in the description below. And you can actually just check it out, both of us at the same time, and have both playing with this kind of weird, funky surround sound effect. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, by the way. If it turns out like it's not as fantastic as you think it would be, please feel free to just like mute one of us.
Just mute both of us and watch our good looking.
Speak for yourself,
Yeah.
man. I think you're still better looking than I do. I am.
Nah, bro, I'm fat. I mean, after COVID, it's like 10 kilo fatter than before.
Anyways, all right.
Yeah, okay. Let's go.
Yes, let's go back in. Let's go straight into the things. We have
Sure.
we're a little bit tight on time tonight, so let's go straight to the topic. I start all of my sessions here very simply with one very quick question. Pochi,
Sure.
What was your first geekdom? What was the first geeky thing you got into, and like when and where was it?
The geeky thing, you mean like since could be like mentioned back to like when we as a kid
Yes.
playing the toy or just a hobby? Is that count?
I think that's a actually very good distinction. Strangely enough, whenever I talk to someone about this, most of the time we're talking about like the first, either like the first anime or the first comic or the first movie or something like that really stuck up in their heads, that got them really excited about this kind of things, you know. But personally for me, I think it really is about first impressions, right? Like, what's the first thing that sparked you to take an interest in sort of geek related stuff, you know?
To be honest, okay, when we grow up with the like Japanese animation, right? Like, I don't know, because in my country, in Thailand, we have like every weekend in the morning,
Right.
there's a channel that like have like the like, I cannot remember, it's like 3 or 4 hours long run about the anime, like Kinnikuman, the wrestling one, the Dragon
one with
Ball,
the
something
sausage
like
lips kind of thing, right?
yeah, the thick lip, that one. Then like the normal Japanese cartoon on that time include the tokusatsu, something like that.
Oh.
Then okay, but that one is like when we was a kid, I believe everyone grow up with the Japanese animation or Japanese live action. But then the thing that kind of catch me, like push me into something like this, I never said this to anyone, or I can't remember. Okay, but the thing that like pull me into the ACG thingy is, you know, Tamiya, right?
Yes, the race cars,
Yeah.
right? The race cars.
Yeah, the race car, the Tamiya one, the 4-wheel drive one.
Yeah.
Actually, that one I read like manga, and yeah,
That's right.
I'm not quite sure, but I didn't have like the like the memory about the animation one, but I have most of them came from like the manga.
Really?
Then my dad, when I was a kid, sometimes he's like playing video games, but okay, to be honest, it's not like the gamer daddy, just like for casual thing. But then he's introduced me into the Tamiya, the 4-wheel drive, and he teach me how to like to modify and go to the event for racing. It's like nowadays that daddy bring that kid to the event just for an excuse for dad to play something.
So your dad actually actively bought you and encouraged you to play with Tamiya model kit cars.
remember it's like around 12 or 13, something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
if I'm not wrong.
That's fantastic. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's really fascinating to me because so I've done this. This is my 12th show, and because I'm Malaysian, a lot of the people I've done this with are Malaysians, and a lot of us have grown up. Most of the people that I've had this chat with, right, across Peninsular Malaysia, most of us actually grew up in part with you have two types of people who grew up with the Western cartoons. So we have people who grew up with things like Centurion, Brave Star, and things like that. And then
Transformer, like that.
sort of, almost, yeah, a bit of that as well. And then you have this separate other group, which I sit somewhere in between with, where we were watching things like Speed Racer, Kimba the White Lion, and things like that. So yeah,
I think because in Thailand is kind of different. I mean, because in Thailand is like we watch the animation from both sides. But okay, to be honest, from the Western, mostly is like just the mainstream one, like Transformer,
right.
or but most of my memory is kind of messed up on that time. Okay, let's say Transformer and Gundam at the same time. But for Speed Racer, I don't think maybe it might be like one generation earlier or something, because I don't have like the memory of the Speed Racer. But okay, but we watched like the thing that they show on the Cartoon Network, like Tom and Jerry, something like that.
Right. Okay. So I'll call that one out a little bit. Cartoon Network is like Tom and Jerry is not on Cartoon Network, but that's a very different discussion.
Okay. Sorry.
But no. Nothing to apologize for, because I think a lot of people think a lot of cartoons. Like when people think about Tom and Jerry, it's very easy for them to think about Cartoon Network, because Tom and Jerry is not Disney, and that is definitely not Nickelodeon, right? But it's kind of weird, because if you think about it, I don't even recall Tom and Jerry being on Cartoon Network myself. Like, were they ever on Cartoon Network?
Not sure. I mean, like, let's put it this way, that we watched like the cartoon from like the both sides, but like, okay, it's not from Disney. I can't remember Tom and Jerry. I believe Tom and Jerry is okay, never mind. Just said this way that yeah, just the mainstream one.
Right.
So the thing like the Tom and Jerry, the thing like Speed Racer, I don't think I watched when I was a kid. And like even the can't remember the Go Lion, right? The 5 tiger robot combined together.
Voltron.
We never call it Voltron, we call it Go Lion.
So by the way, this is one thing that's very interesting. I've always enjoyed these conversations a little bit sometimes, because whenever we talk about the shows that we've watched, I always love hearing about how some things are localized in our respective countries. Because what happens is that an interesting thing. Do you know Kamen Rider RX? It's one of the most popular Kamen Riders, and it was localized into BM Bus Malaysia. And
oh, really?
Yeah. And interestingly, I found out about this. This is so I did a show with someone in Indonesia a while back. We were comparing notes about this. If I'm not mistaken, and if I'm wrong, please point it out to me. But Kamen Rider RX is also localized in Indonesia as Baja Hitam, very specifically BAJA Hitam, HITIM, which Baja itself is very weird of a choice of words, but Hitam means black, in case you're wondering. So, that kind of thing is black color. But what
is it called again? What is it called again? BAJA.
Yeah, Baja Hitam. Yeah,
KIT.
No, HITAM.
HITM.
Yeah, so it is obviously tokusatsu. Yeah, so it's very tokusatsu kind of thing. Malaysia had it, Indonesia had it, and apparently we shared the same translations. Why I bring this up as something that's very interesting is that calling it Baja Hitam makes no sense. Because the word Baja in Malay, at least in Malay, means fertilizer.
Fertilizer?
Yes. So like the one that you put on, crops and like,
Like
plants and
oh
things
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
You give like plant
Understand.
food. Yeah, it means fertilizer. It makes no sense. So
This okay. I have my own story too. Then
Okay.
you're going to compare
Right.
Malaysia and Thailand too.
that's been fantastic. Let's do this. So just
Sure.
to finish my story, so the theory is, what I've heard, the rumor is that there was a typo in the translation files. They meant to write baju hitam, and baju in Malay means clothes. So it literally baju hitam would have translated into black clothes, or somebody wearing black lah, which would make
I
perfect
see.
sense because it's like, a description of the costume, right? So it makes a lot of sense calling it baju hitam.
I see.
And so the running theory we have is like someone did a typo somewhere and it became baja hitam, and because no one wanted to change it, it is baja hitam forever in Malay.
But it's like fertilizer, black fertilizer. Okay.
Yeah.
But to be honest, because you said they have localized, right?
Right.
In Thailand also have localized too.
Right.
Because of the Kamen Rider is supposed to be like every Kamen Rider is supposed to represent some kind of insect, right?
Right.
In Thailand, all Kamen Rider represent ant. Yeah, I'm not sure why, but first I believe they said like, okay, because of the first Kamen Rider is supposed to be like the ant. I'm not sure this is right or wrong or something. Then we call it like ไอ้มดแดง ไอ้มดแดง which mean the red ant.
Edmund then.
Yeah, ไอ้มดแดง
Oh.
like yeah, the red ant.
So those
Then
fire
the-
ants kind of thing.
Yeah, and after that, we also always called all the Kamen Rider the red ant.
Fascinating.
Yeah, even they are like, I remember some of them are like from Parrot, or like the RXs
Right.
came from the
Grasshopper. Grasshopper.
yeah, the cockroach, the cockroach. No,
RX?
cockroach. Sorry, the เชียตะกะแตนใช้คำว่าอะไรวะ
Grasshopper.
Not the
Grasshopper.
mantis,
Grasshopper.
grasshopper. Yeah. It's supposed to be like something like that, but we always call them ant.
So
Then
So
after the era change, like our era is like Showa, right? Then when the era change and the licensing is changing too, so they start to like changing the names because of the new licensing companies feel like okay, it's supposed to be like a hopper. Sometimes it came
Right.
from like the beetle.
Right.
So yeah, so they change from like just ไอ้มดแดง which is the red ant to the just Kamen Rider or the Musket Rider.
So that's something that's so just to come back a little bit, right? Like
Yeah, sure.
When did Kamen Rider like? Do you have any impressions of like when did Kamen Riders really started picking up? Like was picking up in Thailand, or is like Japanese content always super popular in Thailand?
I think on that time it's very popular. Like when we're talking about like the pillar of the Japanese culture is going to be like the Kamen Rider, the Sentai, and Ultraman, also
Right.
Gundam.
So
And it's have and I think it's same problem in Southeast Asia, which is when people start to call every robot Gundam.
yeah, I know what you mean, man.
Yeah.
But it's
Then the
it's-
same.
but it's a bit crazy though. Like so this is one thing that I was like to talk about for comparison's sake, right? Like when you started Tamiya, that was in what, the 80s, 90s? Is it 90s?
I think it's supposed to be 90 something. Yes.
Right. So that was 90s in Bangkok, Thailand.
Yeah.
During that time, right? Like tokusatsu's already established thing, right? Like it's pretty popular where
Yes.
you're at. what does it look like to at that level in Bangkok and in Thailand specifically in general? Like what I mean by that is like, so just for comparison, right? In Malaysia, if you were to ask somebody on the side of the road, do you know Baja Hitam, which is once again our Kamen Rider RX, right? Do you know Kamen Rider RX? I think the odds of somebody knowing, I think it's less than 50%, right? If you ask somebody if they know Doraemon, for example, in our case, Doraemon was quite popular in KL, in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. If you ask them, do you know Doraemon? There was a higher chance, you know? So how was that in Thailand and Bangkok? Is it like, was it a very good chance that someone would know? Is it something that you can find like easily and things like that?
I think yes. Every mall have like the toy, like the toy section. So every toy is like, if not Gundam, must be like Kamen Rider if possible, or the like the vinyl figure of the Ultraman. Doraemon, Hello Kitty is not popular at that time.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, but people know, and because of the like, you know about the Ultraman licensing law enforce like the law drama, right?
Oh no, I don't. What drama was that?
Because of the like the Thai companies claim that they're also like the co-inventor of the Ultraman. So because of that, during like the early 2000, the Ultraman have like the licensing issue, so they cannot, because they still fight on the court. So because of that, they cannot doing like they cannot do like the new Ultraman or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because of the law enforcement that happened during that time. Because of the like Ultraman, also the Kamen Rider on that time, actually they have like I can't say it's Thai version, but it's have like the special movie that happened in Thailand.
Oh, as in like it's based in Thailand, or like it was a special movie specifically only released in Thailand?
Specifically released in Thailand, and they have like the all the Kamen Rider cast come to Thailand, something like that. They even have like the music video too.
Wow. So
let me find for you. Let me find for you.
Yeah. So what you're looking, right? Like let me see whether I understand you correctly there. Because of a rights issue between what essentially is some Thai rights holders and the Japanese rights holders for the IP of Ultraman. Basically, they couldn't create any new Ultraman. And then at some point, because some of the rights holders are still like are based in Thailand and all that, they made a movie that's meant to be released only in Thailand. So it's like it's not a worldwide release. It's not even a Japanese release. It's only available in Thailand. And not only did they do it, not only is it an Ultraman, an official quote unquote official Ultraman movie.
Actually, that one is supposed to be like the official one because they have like the costume. Okay, because on that time is Ultraman versus Hanuman.
Right.
You know Hanuman, right? From Ramana. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. I pardon my expression because I didn't know that was real. So what happened was that I remember
not asking, but I believe that one. I think that one is real.
So what happened was that as a kid, right? As a kid, I could swear I saw posters of it.
Yeah. I sent on the document. That one came from 1974. Chayo film. Chayo is like the company that they said like they also have the law enforcement with the Japanese about the Ultraman rights.
Okay, it's this one, right? Let me just pull this one up. Oh God, this is crazy.
Yeah, and if I'm not wrong, I believe they have like the suit of the Hanuman at the studio in Japan too.
Okay, give me a short while. Let me just very quickly. Because what I want to do is I want to download and show this one because this is insane.
Yeah, and I sent you on the Facebook. That one is the link of the MV of Kamen Rider in Thailand.
Holy crap, this is crazy. So give me a minute, yeah? Let me just pull it up. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Let me put on my.
Give me a quick minute. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right. So yeah, so what you have there, like I swear, I think so. What happened was that as a kid, I think I saw something like this before. It's on my side here right now. I think I've seen something like this before, and I thought I was hallucinating.
It's real, bro.
Because you have to understand, like I thought it was some weird like pirated
No.
that like some
I saw the link of the Kamen Rider in Bangkok. Like, I think it's 50 years ago, 40 or 50 years ago.
the
MV.
Oh God,
If I'm not wrong, that's the real one. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna put it up on screen. Give me a second. Let me just do this
Sure.
properly, because oh God, this is crazy. I can't. You know what's really cool? Let me see what I. Oh yeah, here we are. Okay, so this is really cool because can I do it without? Oh, I can't. Okay, never mind. It's okay.
Check.
All right, so I can't. Oh God, the cropping is so weird. I don't like this, but let's just. Let me just do this properly. Let me see what I can do this properly. I'm so sorry, guys. So,
Sure.
I don't usually do this because, as a rule, I try not to share stuff off the bat completely, but you can sort of hear it in the background. So right now, what happens is, let me just pull it up as a background.
Sure.
Like, so this is all taken in Thailand, Bangkok kind of thing, is it? Like the shots
Yes,
itself.
and it's official.
Yeah, with all the Kamen Riders and shit.
Yes, and they have like the Thai version of the song too.
Oh God, this is insane.
Yeah.
So once again, like, just to go over it again, right? Like, so basically, because there were rights holders that were based in Thailand, and because the rights issues were not fully sort of resolved, effectively the rights holders took advantage of that and said, we're just going to make a bunch of movies, a bunch of MVs, whatever else there is. We're going to make a bunch of content that is based in Thailand. And then that basically covers things like this, which is like Kamen Rider in Thailand, just bicycling, or is it motorcycling? It is motorcycling. Motorcycling through the streets of Thailand, versus the other side, which is like Hanuman and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's very, very Thai-centric content, versions of the content.
Yes, and if I'm not wrong, actually they also have like, because the Japanese, when they send the tokusatsu to Thailand, right? So we're trying to have our own tokusatsu too, but when we're trying to do like the original one is not that good, but we consider as the symbol of the nation is Hanuman. So we're trying to put Hanuman on every like collaboration with tokusatsu. Like, because it's not just Hanuman and Ultraman, we have Jumbo A versus Hanuman too.
Jumbo A, sorry. Hello?
Jumbo A, let me find the Jumbo A.
But okay, so while you're trying to look for that, right? Like, but basically, what I am hearing though is like Ultraman is a.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Not Hanuman. Is another the demon giant. The demon giant. Oh shoot! This one is like before I was born. Many years before I was born.
Okay, never mind. It's okay. Let's come back
Sure,
to
sure.
the years that you were around. But yeah, so why I oh okay, I see it. I guess I can pull this up. Give me a short while. Yeah. But yeah,
Yep.
so I wanted to ask was just like so basically when you were growing up by then, right? Was this issue resolved already? Was it still a lingering issue by the time that you were born?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like while you were growing up, right? Were these issues of like the rights for Ultraman, was it resolved already? Was it still an issue by the time that you were growing up?
Actually, when I'm growing up, the issue is still on the court, but I believe they settle like 2000 something, like before 2010.
So it did take a while.
Everything was already clear. But before that, they have like because of the you remember the Ultraman versus Hanuman, right? The company that made it, they claim that they have right in Ultraman, not because of that movie, but because of when they first create Ultraman, the owner of the companies working on that on the Japanese company. So and he's like co-creator and is become like thinking about the Macross and Golden Harmony.
Understood. I think this is this is actually one thing that about rights management and IP development that gets a bit blurry for a lot of people. It's so for those who are actually working with companies and stuff like that, working on your own projects, be very careful when you're doing that, you know, because these kind of things can be an issue, especially if you work it on your company's time, you know.
Yes.
So, yeah. So okay, let's come back to the main story. So you grew up with Tamiya. Your parents were. It sounded like your parents were really supportive of you at least exploring Tamiya. So from doing Tamiya stuff, like did it that gave you an interest in checking out the manga and all that, is it?
Actually, when you watch the Tamiya, right?
Yeah.
The manga or the
So I actually
animation.
watched the anime. I didn't want to say anything, but I only watched the anime.
You remember the guys that doing like the MC, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's actually like my inspiration. That when I grow up, I want to be that guy.
God, that's your origin story. That's Pochi's origin
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, so it's like because of that, kind of feel like, bro, he's really cool. Like during they have like the competition, I want to be the guy. I don't want to be the competitor. I don't want to be a player. I want to be that guy that having the might, casting like shoutcaster or like the MC to announce who versus against who.
Fascinating. So your biggest sense of inspiration wasn't necessarily from the players, the guys who were building the cars, or even the experience that you were having with your dad and all that, but purely by watching the person who's there riving up the people, riving up the crowd, riving up the players and all that kind of stuff, is it?
Yes, it's like one of my inspiration. Then, but because of I have to like study, then this dream become like fade away. But then I have like the opportunity during actually when I'm studying university. I got the opportunity because I'm playing like the Magic the Gathering. Just a minute, actually still keep it. I just found it. The DCI judge.
You still have the old. Oh, you were a DCI judge.
Yeah,
Wow.
And is it valid until 2004? Sorry, the camera is kind of flipped on my
okay.
side. Yeah, but it said 2004. So
Nice.
yeah, during that time and doing the judge. So yeah, on that time it's like the Tamiya guy become a dream, start to like become a reality again. Then I got like the opportunity to work as a columnist in the magazine about card games. Then after the card games, I moved to Ragnarok Online, MMORPG.
What were you doing for Ragnarok?
I'm doing the columnists of like analysis or like the tip and tricks. But the one that I'm starting is like, because my friend said like, this magazine needs some stuff to help them organize the event inside the game. So that time it's like, okay, I'm just help them organize. But then when I meet the head of editor, like the head of the department,
Right.
he said like, okay, you coming, you start create the event, then you do all the event.
So basically organize everything from scratch and everything.
Yes, so instead of assist, become like the guy who do everything about the event inside the games. But that one is not came from the Ragnarok. It came from the magazine that working with Ragnarok.
So okay, there's a few things here that's very fascinating to me. Number one, I think at least in Malaysia, I don't recall. I really can't speak to how popular local gaming magazines were in KL back in the day. Personally, for me, like I wasn't that much of a gamer in like my teens.
I see.
Partially because I grew up kind of poor. Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't starving, but like I didn't really have a console of my own, and stuff like that. But what happened was that like I would see magazines on the shelves and stuff like that, but I don't recall seeing that many like local game magazines, like those that are published from the local scene. So what I'm hearing from you is like, at least in Thailand, right, like there is the publishing culture, the publishing industry at least, right, is a lot more, it's lucrative enough that like you have your own internal, here are my bunch of magazines, these are Thai magazines, written and edited by Thai people, and all that kind of stuff. That is very, very interesting. And then you ran as far as, your magazines even run activities based on Ragnarok Online, like partnering with Ragnarok Online, I assume.
The magazine is called RO Club, which means Ragnarok Online Club, and because it's a magazine that focuses on this game.
Right.
On that time, Thailand, actually, since I was a kid, the game magazine become a thing, and we have like two, like Mega is one of the oldest magazine. The other one is the Game Max.
I think
These two is is in Thailand. Actually, the first before is Game Mag is like the Hobby magazine, something like that. Hobby Max then become the Game Max or Hobby and Games. Sorry, my memory also kind of mess up. But yeah, we have like many magazine.
I think for me, on my side, it wasn't until my teenage years, right, that some local companies started doing their game magazines, and I can't remember what they are. I have some impressions of them. I never bought them, but I have some impressions of them. I think, the closest thing we had to anything like it, right, was Gumpa. Gumpa wasn't a game-only magazine. It was a sort of an almost an ACG style pop culture magazine kind of thing. So they were predominantly like comics and stuff like that, and then but then what happened was like they would have like, Final Fantasy is out, here are a bunch of things, or this is a bunch of like new games that came out, here's a bunch of things, and things like that. So I don't recall like a big, I think there was some, but I don't recall anything being particularly successful, a very big games only magazine, in Malaysia.
I see. But in Thailand, it's different because we have like many magazine. Okay, even like for hobbies, for anything, we have the magazine about it. Also include the games because of the on that time Ragnarok is like when you guys playing Mobile Legend Bang Bang right now, is that popular? It's become on the newspaper. It's become the news on the new television about the bad thing, the games that ruin your kid life, something like that. And so because of that popular, so they have the magazine. So I'm working for the magazine. Then after some time, actually this one my audience already know, but I don't think I ever told to anyone, especially my overseas friends, that actually I'm graduate from the Bachelor of Law.
You are.
Yeah, Bachelor of Law. I can like go to the to take the test for the lawyer, but I didn't. Because on that time, during when I study in the university, okay, I studied law, but at the meantime, during that time, I'm start to like playing the Magic the Gathering. I'm doing the judge. I'm trading the card. I'm doing the magazine. So after I'm graduate from the university, I kind of feel like, bro, I don't think I can go to the lawyer's ways anymore, to the lawyer route. So I'm changed to gaming industry, which on that time is start to like growing up. Like the companies that I working for on that time that making the magazine, they have like the new department doing the events, specifically doing the games event, like the consult and the organizer for gaming event. Then on that time they recruit me as like the part-time employee. Then after I finish my school, they have the like department to do the TV show.
Okay, so I just want to check. I just want to do a quick check.
Sure.
What years were these? Around what time? Like, was this like in the 90s? Is it in 2000s?
2000.
Oh, this is early 2000s already by then.
Yeah. This thing, my memory, if not wrong, is supposed to be 2006. They have the TV channel called G Square. It's happened on the is on the cable TV.
So around
yeah.
So around early 2000s, you were studying law, rules lawyering for Magic the Gathering at the same time.
Yes.
and writing for a games magazine or our club, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
So after all of that, you graduated with a bachelor in law, but decided not to become a practicing lawyer.
Yes.
and decided to just go like, you know what, like you just want to go into the games industry, and like you've been and that was the time that you ended up joining them to consult on events specifically for games. So what was the company that hired you? Was this wonderful company that decided to like, hey Tak, come and like, hey Pochi, come and join me as a part-timer kind of thing?
Actually, during that how should I put this, because of the companies that doing the that hiring me is one of the like the biggest companies that make the game magazine at that time. So because they're trying to expand, like the their field, like because they on that time the internet. Okay, we already have internet, but internet is not that good. Like 20 years ago, it's not that good, and the website is not the main thing yet.
Right.
Not yet.
This is before Facebook.
Before Facebook for sure. Then they have the magazine, and they have like the pillar they call like the magazine 1, magazine 2, website, the TV show, and the last one is the SMS, the message on telephone.
Yes, for all the Gen Zers out there, there is such a thing called SMS. It is before WhatsApp. It is before. Oh God, what else is there?
Before Messenger, before
Messenger.
Line, before WhatsApp.
Before WeChat.
Yeah, before WeChat. We have that system, which is you have to pay for sending
Yes.
the message.
Yes. Yes.
Is that
do you,
time of the years?
do you still remember the day like do you still remember the feeling you had when they announced that, oh yeah, we are going to only charge you 1 cent per SMS? Because I remember like back in the day it was like, oh, it's 10 cents per SMS, and that was considered a deal. And then someone came up and said, oh yeah, right now we are going to have even a bigger deal. It's only 1 cent per SMS. And then we were like, wow, that is super duper cheap.
Yes. That time, okay, for Sumer, for Gen Z, on that time, our telephone cannot use internet. There's no such a
Do
thing
we have a... Does anyone
as
of
the
us have
smartphone.
does anyone have a Nokia like 3310?
Yeah, the Nokia, the meme thing, that
Yeah.
one. The one that come with the number that look like your father remote control.
Yes, correct.
Something like that.
Anyways, but yes. So yes, what? Sorry, we never got to the company that hired you. So, what was the name of the company again?
Future Gamer.
Oh, okay. So it's a magazine,
Future,
right?
It's a magazine. Future Gamer is the owner. He's buying the right from the PC Gamer magazine from America.
Okay.
And translate into Thai, and they have like their own column from Thai columnists. Yeah, and from that one, he expand to like from PC to online to specific game, or the other way around, I can't remember. Then they have like the right to, EGM, right? EGM, the magazine, the console focus one. He also buying the right of the EGM from America to translate into to Thai too. Then because of that, we have like many magazine from PC, console, and online game, many one. Then after that, they doing the website, which is now okay. For this one is for Thai audience. The website supposed to be start as like Wikipedia for Ragnarok Online. Just Wikipedia, something
Right.
like that.
So it's,
like the database.
Right. Okay.
Like the database for Ragnarok Online. And that website called Online Station, which is now Online Station. They changed from website into the YouTube channel. Thinking about this one is IGN Thailand. Thinking about that way.
Oh, okay. So it's basically so online station. The YouTube channel is IGN Thailand, basically. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, basically they are IGN Thailand, but okay, they're not the same brand. They're not IGN
of
in
course,
Thailand,
of
but
course.
the way they're working is similar.
Correct. It's basically it's think of it as, right. It's,
Yeah, think of it as.
Right,
And the SMS is no more because of the like when they have like the when your phone can use internet, so it's not they no need to use the SMS anymore.
the only time I get SMSs nowadays anyway is either when, number one, government tells me to get my vaccination. Number two, like number one, government vaccinations, and number two, when somebody asks me like, dear owner, do you want to sell your apartment? It's like, who else gets SMSs anymore?
at least your number two is someone asking you about selling your apartment, but mine is like, we have the gamble website. Would you like to
God.
try?
Okay. I was being a bit facetious just now. Like the other type I also get is I say buying apartment mostly because they are like offers and stuff. So I do get sometimes like ones where it's like, oh hey, do you want to borrow money?
Similar.
Yeah, it's like oh, I don't
Yeah.
have money. Then
Full of scam
yeah,
somehow.
and then World Cup periods, it's like, oh yeah, and then it's like, oh, who wants to gamble on which one wins?
Yeah. Okay. Let's cut back to the my companies. Yeah, because of it's future gamer, but
Right.
now because they're selling to the like the bigger companies
Right.
called True Corporation.
Right.
True Corporation is more like Singtel in Singapore.
Yes, or DG or in Malaysia and things like that, right?
Yeah, but bigger. I mean, like they hold almost everything. Thinking about like Arasaka from Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thinking about that way.
And actually
And then
in that case,
Sorry?
Singtel is actually quite accurate.
okay.
In that way,
Then I think
Singtel's
same.
very good.
Then I think same. Then on that time, because I'm doing like the first we just like the production house sending the program to the G-Square channel.
Right.
Then after that, around like 4 or 5 years, because of the future gamer, they're selling their companies to True Corporation,
Alright.
and the G Square also owned by True Corporation.
Right.
So they merge.
Okay.
After that, they merge. So I have to like move from FGTV, which is my department,
Right.
to the G Square. Then after that, during that time, I'm studying like master degree, and kind of feel like on that time because they're changing the like the head of the department. So when they're changing the boss, they're also changing the direction too, from game channel into like lifestyle channel.
Oh.
So because of that, okay, let's put it this way. My direction and his direction is different.
Understood.
So after that, I quit from the companies to do my own. On that time, I'm also okay. And during that time, actually during the time that I do the TV channel, I'm start with my friends. We start to making the store called Tomodachi T-shirt.
Right. And that's how I got to know you, right?
Yes. And because of that, we have like, I'm trying to like merging because on like before 2010, if I'm not wrong, it's like around 2005 to 2010, the ACG event, the anime event in Thailand start to happen during that time.
Oh, so it's around 2010, is it? That ACG events in Thailand starts picking up? Or
2005,
2005.
if I'm not wrong, but I heard that some said that some of the event already happened during 90s, like late 90s or very early 2000.
Do you remember what event, like what events they could be, or what's the name of the events and what type of events they were?
On that time is just very small event, just only like around 10 circle, if I'm not wrong. And it's not happen on the like big convention.
Right.
It's just happen like on the meeting room inside the hotel.
Of course. Actually, to be fair, that's how CF started as well. That's how Comic Fiesta started as well. Yeah.
I believe every event started way.
Well, was that the case? Like, so was that the case in Thailand as well in the 90s, or is that like only around 2005 that they start?
Let me check. I think early 2000, but I can't like exactly sure when the first event. But during that time, what I know is ACG community in Thailand start already happened. Okay, I think the event, the longest run, and not the longest, the most further the oldest one we have right now on the Internet Archive is 2001. It's called the event called Escape number 2.
Wait, if that's number 2, then what were they doing in number 1? Should number 1 be before?
Yeah, I think before that, but this is came from my friends. He's doing all the archive of the all event so far. So the oldest one is 2001. Let me send you the link.
No problem.
Let me send you the link.
It's okay. Yeah. So just drop me the link. But yeah, that's fascinating because for those who are not familiar, Pochi, you're strictly speaking the second person I've spoken to on this channel that is not in Malaysia, that's not based in Malaysia. And the history of Malaysia, I practically lived through it. But like in Indonesia, I found out from the one person I've been speaking to. So if anyone wants to correct me on this, please do. But one of the first proper ACG event in Indonesia, right, believe it or not, was Alpha ID, and that was like in 2010.
Really?
Yeah, and that's what I've been told at least. Yeah, because prior to that, right,
Okay.
they never had even the concept of an ACG event in Indonesia. Like they had occasional corners for anime and stuff like that, but it was always like part of a larger like Japanese culture event, you know, that kind of thing. So like a small anime
Understand.
corner, that kind of thing. So never had anything like that. Contrasting that, right, like it seems that Malaysia and Thailand seem to have very similar roots. Like we start around the early 2000s. Our event history starts around the early 2000s.
Yes.
And in this case, apparently it's with that event that you just mentioned.
Actually, oh shoot. Actually, the another let me check. Because of the we okay, from my friends on my chat, they said the actual first event supposed to be during 90s, late 90s, called Kase, which is Dojin event.
Oh, okay.
But the oldest cosplay event is happened 1982.
Wow. In
Thailand. In Thailand, it's like
Wow.
remember I told you right that we have like the TV channel that airing the anime,
Right.
like I think is Arale, something like that.
Yes.
The oldest one we have, I sent on the folder.
Let me look it up.
Sure. This one is supposed to be the oldest one we have. During, if not wrong, it said like, let me check the wording. Okay, it's like end of 1982, welcome 1983.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure this is not just like some kids thing or?
It's because of on that time the cartoon is anime is considered as a cartoon, right?
Yes.
And cartoon is for kids. So what they do is this is the event for kids.
Oh, okay. Okay, now to be
Yeah.
fair, for those who don't
Sure.
know, like Arale is part of Akira Toriyama, God bless his soul. His earlier works, it is called Dr. Slump. At least it's localized to us as Dr. Slump. And so Arale is one of the main characters for it.
Yes.
But this is
Same.
clearly a kids event kind of thing. This is a very interesting question in the back of my head, but I never thought to address it really in any significant way. Which is like, at what point did we really start creating a distinction between cosplaying, which is like the primary audience is more mature, more adults, and what essentially is like children's costume parties and things like that. You know, I know this is a taboo subject for some people, yeah, but I want to be very fair about this, because when because when I was helping out CF a long time ago, we were going through this phase in the the pre-2010s kind of period. And at that time, cosplay is not a very common idea, you know? So like people don't know what cosplay is. People like they only know it as something people dress up in costumes and things like that. So so CF, we occasionally get like requests to come in to help support like events and like organize shows and stuff like that, right? So one of the crazier requests that we've got in the past, I can't remember whether we actually said yes to it or did we say no to it, but like we were requested to do a children's cosplay competition. And as you would imagine, right, like when you have kids involved and parents who don't fully understand what cosplay is, what they effectively do is they have their kids come in and it's basically a talent show with costumes.
I understand.
Yeah. So it's one of those kind of things where I like because we're looking at this very specifically, right? And I don't know where that line is, to be fair, because we're very specifically talking about like the first ACG event that we can think of, right? And I can very openly tell you that at least to my knowledge, one of the first ones in Malaysia was probably Gempak's one. Gempak used to, I told you just now about a publisher called Gempak, and Gempak is a comic-centric publisher, right? I mentioned that earlier. So one of the first things, and they were one of the first like ACG events one. I call it that mostly because they sort of open and welcome cosplays, but they are also like the show was more or less their own show. Like it's a Gempak event. Like they'll hold it up and say, hey,
just a minute, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Not sure. My site, is it? I'm not sure. Is it disconnect or not? Oh shoot!
Oh no!
My site is disconnect.
Oh shit!
It's alright. No, it's alright.
Okay.
Buffering. I don't think. Hey. Okay. Never mind. I'm doing the launch another restream. Okay, but you can go on.
So thank God we are streaming two at the same time. So
yes.
So this is called going on. This is continuing.
Okay.
So as I was saying, Gempak is a publisher and they did an event mostly it's basically a promotional event for themselves, you know? So because it's a promotional event for themselves, they it's very Gempak centric, they have their own things of course and all that kind of stuff, but they also like sort of a true comics event that like it's not a children's talent show, to put it very simply, right? So I argue that is the one to, at least to my memory, and it's one of the first that was out and part of that bigger picture of the next one after that became CF, and then there was AXN as well who did their own show, I think a couple of years after that kind of thing, if my memory serves me right. Yes. I to be honest, I've had this show, as I said, I've run this show for like 12 sessions already, but that part of the story gets a little blurry in my head sometimes also, to be perfectly fair. So yeah. So coming back, I looking at this specific case that that your friend has brought up, right? I do question like at some point, like, is this still considered an ACG event, or is this a children's talent show? That kind of thing.
Yeah, actually that one is kind of, to be honest, okay, let's say, welcome everyone that migrate from my channel. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do create new stream again, but no, okay, let's put like this, because this one is considered the oldest cosplay event in Thailand, but to be honest, I think it's like what you said, is the event that I think is more like, because it's celebrating the kid and the cartoon they watch. Yeah, and because of that, on that time, maybe it's just bring the kid in just dress as a cartoon.
Right.
That's all.
Right. So yeah. So
Which I'm not sure should we how should
we
we
count it, right?
categorize that?
Yeah, exactly, right? I think it's a very weird and interesting question to ask. And if we talk about just purely, what is the first comic event in your country, or what is the first cosplay event in your country? Oh, sorry, costume event in your country. Let's talk cosplay, right? Because cosplay as a concept is something that came like 80s, 90s kind of thing.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like, what's the first costume event in your country and all that kind of stuff. I think this can count, but at the same time, it's like, I think it opens up a very weird definition that is very difficult to go, like, to backtrack and really track and stuff like that. So, by the way, I just want to say hi to all of Tak's viewers that dropped by to just continue listening to the story. Welcome back to this channel.
Welcome.
I also want to, at this point, while Tak is still trying to, like, Pochi is still trying to reset up his stream, I want to congratulate you at this point, because you've been talking in English for an hour at this point.
Thank you.
So it's 1 hour straight since you started this one. Congratulations, Pochi.
Thank you. At least I'm trying.
Okay, so as a quick check,
Okay.
At this point of the story,
Sure.
what year are we at?
Okay, back to the event. Back to the event. I believe. Okay, let's say for the first few ACG event in Thailand. Actually, for the word cosplaying, I'm not sure when, because before that time, like around early 2000, people cannot, like, I don't think they can separate between cosplay and fancy event.
Yeah, correct. Fancy dressing events, right?
Yeah, fancy dressing event. So because of that, they kind of messing up about both of the event, and because of that, but okay, I told you that the first one that I saw, at least they have like the record on the website is 2001, which still the event said number 2. So to be honest, I think the first few, okay, I saw on the archive on 2002, they also have the event, but the organizer, the one who making the event is the manga publisher. I think kind of similar to every place, I think.
Yeah, it does seem like that, right? Like, so a lot of these places are usually started by publishers because I think like it's a promotional event for them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is based in Bangkok, right? This is all entirely based in
think
Bangkok
so.
in 2002, around that time. Cool.
But as I told you, because okay, let's say before that also have like the Dojin event here.
Yeah. So sorry, you were mentioning the Dojin event. The first Dojin event was when in Thailand again?
It's called Kase, but I cannot remember what year.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I was there or not.
But it was
I
in
can't
the 90s,
remember.
is it?
Actually,
Was it in the 90s?
not sure it's 90. Some say it's 90. Some say it's very early 2000.
Well, I mean, I think we can live with that gap. Because I think,
Yeah.
I mean, so here's the interesting thing. I always thought that Thailand actually had a longer history of comic events than Malaysia. But based on what you're saying, right, it does seem like we share very similar backgrounds, like around the same time. But I think one big thing is like, unlike Malaysia, right, Thailand seems to have a much more thriving publishing sort of ecosystem. And
Yep.
I think that makes it a lot more lucrative for events like that to grow and, like, you know, just generally find roots compared to Malaysia. Because one thing, I don't know whether you know, but like Malaysia's publishing market, right, is divided into the 3 languages that we speak.
You told me one.
Right. So for those who don't know, then it is actually a living nightmare for anyone who tries to create content in Malaysia sometimes because, like, clearly, I speak English reasonably well. There are people who prefer it in BM, Bahasa Malaysia. There are people who prefer it in Chinese. Then there are people, and when I mean by Chinese, I do mean Mandarin more often than not. And then there are people who actually also prefer it in Tamil as well. So because all these languages, and I'm not talking about any other smaller dialects and things like that yet. So because all these languages are actually actively spoken in Malaysia, when you do a thing like, oh, I'm going to do a BM only, a Bahasa Malaysia only magazine release, right? It's not to say that you can't get a lot of people. Like you can't get, you get a lot of people, like there will still have a lot of people who will be buying your magazine or buying your prints and stuff like that. But there is a lot of Chinese speaking people that will just not buy it because it's not easy for them to read, you know?
Understand.
Right. So then what happens is some other people are going to go, okay, since this market is so big, I'm just going to make my product for them. So I'll make a Chinese-based product, you know, or I'll make an English-based product, which a lot of people in Malaysia don't speak, or I'll make a Tamil-only product. So what that means, right, is that so different publishers will have different focuses and different like strengths and weaknesses. Some people have better distribution, some people have better content generation for specific languages and things like that. So at that point, right, you get this kind of case where the industry is just effectively split between like all these kind of different places, and the people who are spending their money also obviously, like, they're not spending it like, oh, this one company gets all the money or that one company gets all the money, you know. The competition isn't about quality of content. It is just purely, oh, do you actually make the language I'm reading, you know, that kind of thing. So you have these kind of weird problems. Yeah.
And because of the selling is kind of split, so the companies cannot they cannot grow that much because of the selling.
Correct. So it becomes this kind of weird problem. At least that's true in Malaysia. I think some people will make a case for, and I think it's fair to make a case for, to say, oh, but a lot of Malaysians don't even buy as much books and things like that. I think that's fair to some level, but I think it's also, I think it's also similarly fair to say, like, there's just so many people who would buy it in a very specific language but not in any other language, you know. So like there'll be like 5 different magazines on the shelf, one for BM, one for English, 2 for Chinese or something like that, and everyone will just be divided amongst these languages, you know. I think that affects the quality and the potential of the market as well.
I see. Because, okay, let's say because Thailand is just only dominated by one language,
right,
which is Thai. So the competition between companies is become like, okay, we got this like from Croatia, or the series from Croatia. The other company said, okay, we got all the IP from Kodansha. The other company said, like, okay, we got all this genre of the boy love, or we call like the female focus, something like that.
Correct.
So because of that, the market is kind of divided, but at least they can sell. They can manage to have like the profit enough so they can expand their business.
Correct. That's one way of looking at it. That's definitely one very fair way of looking at it. I think the other issue is the example that you were giving, right, is very specific to the type of content they're kicking out. So like, say for example, if you're doing Kodansha stuff, right, versus when you're doing Shueisha stuff, if you have the rights for all of Shueisha's work, then all of Shueisha's readers, right, will fall into your lap, right? But in Malaysia, right, you have this problem is, let's say for example, if you get all of Shueisha stuff, right, and you do it for BM but not for Chinese, for example, then all the Chinese readers will go like, hey, maybe I'll buy, maybe I don't want to buy because it's not in Chinese, you know? And then,
I see.
Yeah, and then you get some people who are going to go like, oh yeah, it's not in Chinese. What do? I go pirate law. So sometimes you you don't have a choice simply because, like, some people pirate because it's not in a language that's comfortable for them to read. And
I see.
These people eventually become basically non-customers lah for these type of people lah. Yeah, so this
So
is
it's
yeah, so
no, you go first.
yeah. So when people talk about like piracy being very big in Malaysia, right? I don't disagree with them because it is very big in Malaysia. It's one part of it is because we're also very cheap, but also because, right, sometimes you just cannot find it at all. It's about access as well. Like, so it's like, oh, I cannot find it in last time we used to have a VCD VHS distribution like retail shop called Speedy. So like if I can't find it in Speedy, right, then like, oh, I can't find it in Speedy, what do? I pirate law, you know. It's
Understand.
you know, like, and then like, oh, the Speedy got, but like all the subtitles it's in Japanese, but all the subtitles are only in Chinese, and I can't read Chinese, for example, right? And what do? Like pirate law.
Then we go, go pirate. This one I kind of curious, since because in Malaysia, okay, let's say the language used in Malaysia is like 4 major language, right? Chinese, okay. Let me put this way: if I'm pronounced wrong or I'm understand wrong, please forgive me. Is English, Chinese, Malay, and Indian.
Tamil, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's like, okay, for these 3, okay, let's put aside. I want to know about English one. How about the situation of the English manga in Malaysia? Because you guys believe, because it's supposed to have like the like publisher from overseas that doing the English.
Yeah,
for the first place.
Oh God, it's horrible. I've had a chat with some people over this, and some of them have told me that some of the localized versions in Malay are not official. Like they don't even license it properly. I don't know which is legal and which one isn't, because to be fair, no person buying magazines off the shelf can actually tell. So we grew up with one of the first Malay comics that I grew up with was Doraemon, right? And it was done by a publisher called Tora Aman. And to me, as far as I knew, they were proper licensed comics. As far as I knew, okay, as far as I knew. But English never had a local Malaysian localizer, as far as I know. I've had some chats with some people. They told me that there were people who were pirating Western comics into PM in Malaysia and selling them like in small like A5 size printouts, which were pretty nice apparently. But yeah, English was never a language that you can find Japanese content in. Like if you're a manga fan, it wasn't until Kinokuniya came in, right, that you could get your hands on very reliably. Very reliably on English and Japanese comics and magazines. It wasn't until Kino that you can get official. Actually, not even. Actually, sorry, I have to be clear on this one. Is English, Japanese, and Chinese comics. Japanese and Chinese comics. Yeah. So all these 3 languages were not legally available in Malaysia until Kinokuniya came in.
I see.
As far as I know. I think we had a local, just to add, we had a local book distributor, MPH, that I think at some point brought in some stuff, but I can't remember whether they came first or did Kinokuniya came first. I really can't remember this one. But just as a point of reference, one of the big reasons why when these officially translated imported comics came in, right, they never made it far, was because one book in English, one volume in English for any manga, right, on average was 16 to 20 ringgit. This is quite a few years ago.
16 ringgit.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So for comparison, back in the day, one McDonald's Big Mac meal around this time is about 11 ringgit.
Okay.
So this is so can you imagine, right? If you were growing up as a teenager, you have your allowance to buy food and stuff like that. and you wanted to get into comics, or you like comics, right? You want to buy your comics and stuff like that. The allowance that you have, you can either choose to buy one comic book or 1.5 Big Mac meals. That is the comparison that you have to make, you know.
But okay, this one, what year is happened?
This is sometime in the, I think it would be early 2000s.
Early 2000. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So yeah, so it's something like that. So I think for like a lot of people, at least in Malaysia, right, it's not like people didn't want to get into the original stuff. It's just really expensive to get into the original stuff. You know, even when they were finally available. Yeah. So
I believe this one is the problem with it. Like, I can't remember the English word about to describe about this situation is like because the volume is not enough, so the price of the retail is higher.
Yes and no. What you're talking about, I think, is critical mass. It's basically it's quantity over quality and all that kind of stuff, right? It's about getting enough critical mass so that it's worth like if you order beyond a certain amount, the price will probably drop down. It's not quite the same. It's more to do with the weird complexity with specifically the Malaysian market. Like I was saying earlier, right? Like how we started with this topic. We started with this topic talking about how publishing in Thailand versus publishing in Malaysia was different because Malaysia has a market that's made up of all these different languages, right? So what happens is, let's say for example, you are a licensor, like you want to publish S.E.A stuff in Malaysia, right? And you want to print books. Obviously, you want to print books, right? So how do you decide, right? How many books in BM do you want to print versus how many books in English do you want to print versus how many Chinese books do you want to print? You know what I mean?
I see.
So and keep in mind, every time you print, this is a physical printing, yeah? So you have overhead because you have to pay the printers, obviously, and your translators, right?
Yes.
And then you have your licensing fee for every language, right?
Yes.
And then on top of that, you have to store the thing, distribute the different books, and then on top of that, like, then recalculate your sales and if there is royalties involved and all that kind of stuff. So you can see the amount of work that gets very complex, right? So if the market isn't big enough, what happens is that some people don't care. Like, it's just not worth my money. I'm just not going to pay for it, you know? So,
understand.
Yeah, so it becomes very difficult and very complex. So what happens in Malaysia is that the closest thing you get, and I hope that these comics were properly licensed, was like the Malay ones will be, in theory, properly licensed. Then you get Chinese ones which are pirated because the market is, I don't know lah. Some people say it's too small. I don't have any measure on this. And then the Tamil one doesn't even exist. Like no one does comics in Tamil. I feel very bad for it. Like I feel very sad about it. But it's the market is just so small. So yeah, so it's just so difficult to make a living out publishing in Malaysia, especially because of how the market is separated.
I see. Okay, I got the word right now. It's economic upscale.
Right,
because of the not enough. Okay, this one actually, this kind of problem is happen but different way in Thailand because during like 90s the manga very cheap and almost every manga is pirating. But if I'm not wrong, actually one of my friend which in my chat right now, I think he can explain more because he's doing all the historic of the manga in Thailand. And he also working he working inside the industry too. The thing that happened is like during that time, like thinking about 90s Dragon Ball Z on that time, many publishing they pirate and they fight against each other to see who released first. They don't care about the quality, they don't care about the translation. They just let's see who's printing this new volume first. Then there's I think they have like the incident that one of the publishing tried to bash another by saying like, oh, you do the pirating, I'm going to like tell the Japanese company to sue you.
Oh, I mean that's reasonable,
Then
right?
yeah, then the company said like, okay, if that going to happen, they just fly straight to the Japan and buying the license.
So did they buy the license in the end?
Yeah, they buy the license. So we have like after like around mid 90s, 90, I mean more than half of the industry is the licensing one.
Oh.
And because of Thai is the just doing just only one language, right?
Right.
And because we have the language barrier, so
Right.
we only the local can do.
Right.
Because
so,
of that.
Right. So right.
And one manga,
Right.
one manga is where let's see, is very cheap on that time. It's like thinking of on that time the like the one that I show I put on the Google Drive, the one that with the talent.
Ah, yes. Let me just
That
bring
is
this up.
that is one of the oldest manga magazine in Thailand. It's just only 12 baht. 12 baht is during that time I think it's like just half of the meal, the street food meal, the cheap one meal.
Right. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so-
and but this one is if I'm not wrong, this one is not yet licensed. But after that, when they have the licensing, the price is around like just only one of the street food meal.
so this
So
is,
it's very cheap.
right. So, but
Sure.
this is exactly this is exactly like one of the biggest contrasts between the Malaysian market versus any other market in Southeast Asia actually, because
Yep.
unlike a lot of other places like in Indonesia, Bahasa Indon is spoken widely enough. Yes, there's a lot of dialects, but Bahasa Indonesia as a language is spoken widely enough that if you do something in BI, the whole country will understand you, you know? And and that's why like, oh, it's great for people who want to do like, oh, I want to target Southeast Asian markets and stuff like that. Then it's very easy for you into Indonesia, right? It's the same thing when it
Yep.
comes to Thailand, because Thailand, like, oh, I do Thai, well, you get access to everybody in Thailand, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but and that's the same in Vietnam, in any of the big major markets within this region. The complexity in Malaysia, however, right, is because hey, look, I'm Malaysian, but can you tell? You know, so like I can speak Chinese too, you know, if I want
Yes.
to, you know, so like it's really difficult to, if you're a guy who's trying to figure out how to come into Malaysia, it gets more complex, and some people are going to go like, hey, but and the population of Malaysia is not very big lah, huh? Is it worth the trouble, you know?
Understand because of the economy of scale, but the economic but this problem happen right now most of the time because of the like we have the ebook become a thing like around 2015 or something like that. The pirating is one thing.
Yeah.
The pirating is one problem. The other problem is because we start to have like the ebook during 2000. If I'm not wrong, is start like 2010 or something like that. And because of that, people start to shifting from buying the magazine to read, go to the internet to read, or buying the ebook to read. So because of the economic of scale is lesser, the price is higher. So nowadays, like if you want to buy a book of manga, it's going to be roughly same as a Big Mac.
I think it's important to recognize like a lot of what you're talking about, at least when it comes to like the shift over to ebooks and stuff like that, right? Two big things happen in between. Like number one, the popularization of the internet. Like I think that's very important to recognize, because like the more people have access to the internet, the easier people have access to content, because comics is just a form of content, right? So the better your connection is and the easier it is to get access to like different things, then access to the internet. So it becomes easier for you to process content, to consume content through the internet. Can you imagine, right, if you were using like 1990s internet and trying to read a manga, it's gonna kill you. Like do you still remember the days when like loading an image took like a minute?
Yes.
And then if somebody
right?
Yeah, right. I know, right? Like halfway through, if your image is loading, then someone picks up the phone, your image is like, oh, top of the head.
Yes.
Right? So that kind of thing can happen. So if during those days, right, if you were trying to read a manga which is like 14 pages on average online, right, like you'd be like, oh god,
This cannot happen during that time.
right? So you just won't do it. It's because it's just so frustrating. It's so much easier. Like I'm just gonna pay the money. I'm just gonna buy my book and go home, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but then like so right now, because the internet is so much more easier, so much faster, right? Reading content online is so much more like comfortable. And then you add on top of that, right, the ease of using a smartphone, right? And like you literally have a screen with you all the time that you can read things off, right?
Yes.
So because all those are true, then what happens is that you don't books provide a mobility that is no longer relevant anymore, right? So right now, print media as it is, right, is just harder and harder to survive, lah. At least that's how I would see it. I still love buying books, by the way. I have comics that I have physically here. I have a printed version of Sandman. The Western comic Sandman, right? That is signed by Neil Gaiman, that a friend of mine helped me buy from the UK. It's fantastic. I'm very happy with it. I still love...
Sorry, it's Sandman, the new Gaiman, not the Sandman. Oh, okay. I misheard to Sandland.
Oh,
you mean Sandman?
yes, Sandman.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah, you're talking Sandland from Akira Toriyama, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Yes,
but when you said from new Gaiman, no matter Sandland or Sandman is the I didn't read the Sandland, but Sandman also the masterpiece.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so where I'm getting at is like print media is sort of like phased out quite a bit, but I still love going to events and like buying dojins and stuff like that. I still love like indulging in print media, but I completely understand when a lot of people come and say, hey, I just read my comics or whatever else there is, right, just off my screen, because it's so much more convenient, right? So yeah. Okay, we're reaching the it's right now 10:30 for me, which means that it's 9:30 for you, right?
Yep.
We are running a little short on time. I want to just open this up real quick. If anyone has any questions for either me or Pochi, please feel free to drop it in the link inside the description. There's a form if you want to. If you want to, you can also try and type it inside the comment section. I'm happy to look at that as well. If I can see your questions, I will try and address to it. There's actually still a lot I want to talk about with you, Pochi, because we haven't even got to the part of you like going mainstream with Tomodachi, with your t-shirts, traveling Southeast Asia, all your experiences going to Southeast Asia, and like some part of this story that we're supposed to go through, we are also supposed to talk about how things have changed over the time that we've had, right? We've only gone through the beginning part of this, and like we've got reached to the start of your story, and we're running a little short on time already. But I want to ask you though,
sure.
What do you think of your first experience doing an hour plus long podcast in English?
Actually, kind of nervous, bro, because to be honest, it's like I'm trying to fit all the vocabulary in my head, trying to explain the thing that happened, but it's fun. I mean, because we can sharing the situation in each country, we can explore together.
Exactly.
You explore Thailand, I explore Malaysia.
Exactly.
Then we can exchange because of the culture is different, but eventually it's like it's parallel culture.
Yeah.
We in the same industry, we in the same ACG event, but we just came from different place. That's all.
But I think what's very interesting also, I think it's worth noting though, just to add to that, right? Is also that our timelines are very about the same time. Like internet reached our countries at around the same time.
Yes.
The ACG culture started blooming around the same time. And I don't think this is true for a lot of other places. Like if you're in the US, I'm quite sure your history with comics is going to be very different, you know?
Yes.
You're in Japan, your history with Comic Cat and anime content and all that is probably very, very different as well, right? But very specifically, for us, between you and me, yes, I'm Malaysian, yes, you're Thai. Like the differences are not as big as our languages might seem to imply, lah. You know, we might not be able to speak our mutual, like our main country's languages mutually, but yeah, it seems that like we do have a lot more shared history than a lot of people might be aware of. Right. I don't want to. Go ahead.
Actually, I can see that in Southeast Asia we kinda have similar experience because when we receive the culture, we receive mostly about the same time, about almost the same content.
Well, okay.
But maybe we have localized.
Right. But so here's the thing, right? Sorry, I just for the sake of anyone who's I just want to do a quick sanity check. When we were talking about this magazine about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I don't know whether I made the mistake of not putting it up on screen. So for anyone, in case anyone is wondering what we were talking about when we were talking about like magazine licensing and the fact that this costs like Thai 12 baht, which is like half a proper meal. This is the magazine that we were referring to. This is from before they started licensing things properly. And then after that, they started licensing things properly, and it only cost like up to like I would assume it's 24 baht or 25 baht or something along those lines. So yeah. So this is just for records and like anyone, in case I made a mistake of not putting this up on the screen, this is it.
Yep.
Okay. So having said that, yeah. So I was gonna say, it's actually surprisingly like yes, we share similar timelines, but one thing that's very interesting is that I think Thailand and it sounds at least from this conversation. Thailand and Indonesia actually share a very similar progression. Though I think Thailand might have been more open towards Japanese media than Indonesia was. So why I say that is because Indonesia and Thailand, at least based on what you've shared with me so far, seem to start around like ACG culture or Otaku culture that we know it as, like Japanese-centric Otaku culture, right? Seem to start with tokusatsu. In your case, it's Ultraman. In their case, it was, I think, Kamen Rider and Sentai groups and things like that.
Yeah.
And that was the big one that was the biggest icons of their country at the time. For Malaysia, my impression, I'm waiting for someone to correct me, but my impression was that ours tend to be more anime and comic centric. So like a lot of us, like we saw a lot of HK comics. A lot of people that I've had on the show, we saw a lot of HK comics, we saw a lot of Doraemon, we saw Lao Fuzi, you know, things like that.
Actually, to be honest, it's kind of like maybe same. I mean, came from my perspective. Like Ultraman, Kamen Rider is become a mainstream, but also like Doraemon or EQ-sang, the
Master
Buddhist, the kid Buddhist.
Oh, the kid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that one's a different one. Yes, EQ-san.
Yeah, or the Ninja Hattori, something like that. It's become a mainstream. Yeah, but to be honest, it's like, but from my perspective, that the one that impact to the society is more from tokusatsu, but it's the, I don't know. To be honest, I can as we mentioned before we start the podcast, this is just my perspective. I cannot represent my whole country.
Of course. So look, and I like it was really fascinating. Like one of the reasons, as I said, like one of the big things of what we are doing here is to share like that little window in what we see in our country at a time, right? So
Yep.
what I was just sharing with you is sort of a consolidated story from the different people that I've had on this show. You know, I would love to speak to more people from Indonesia. I would love to speak to more people from Thailand. Just go through like their histories, and hopefully with more people to share their histories, then we will have a more interesting picture or more sort of reflective picture of the progression for all of us, right? Yeah. So but still, from the small window that you've shared so far, the impression I definitely have is that the tokusatsu is plays a larger role in the initial stages of otaku culture, at least in Thailand and Indonesia so far. You know, yeah. Because
I think, but like Dragon Ball Z also something like that. Okay. Okay, let me think, because when we the first initiate, my memory is tokusatsu during when I was a kid, but when I grow up a bit, like become young teen or like during teenage, is Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Doraemon, Gundam. That's all I remember.
So fun thing, I don't think Gundam was ever broadcasted in Malaysia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when you're the when you were talking about Gundam earlier, there was one thing I actually wanted to stop on, because for my side, so this is one thing that's very interesting. Because I found out, and this is only something I found out very recently, by the way. So Malaysia, the broadcaster, the official, like the national broadcasters of Malaysia, they tend to take in shows very late. So usually they are a bit behind times on. You know what I mean? So and what happens from there, right, is that like when I was growing up, like when I was like the early 90s, that kind of time, right, I was watching Kimba, the White Lion, right? I was watching the old Wacky Races, the Hanna-Barbera Wacky Races on national TV in Malaysia. And you have to keep in mind, these shows, right, if you went back to check, right, they are early 80s shows. Like by the point that I was watching them, they were at least about anywhere between 8 to 10 years old already. You know, I might be misremembering the timeline, but they're about that. They're not new per se. They're pre-old by that point. And the reason why I say this, right, is because it screws up my sense of timing. Because when people talk about like, oh, these shows are really old, and I'm like, but I watched them as a kid, and it's nothing to do with my age, by the way. It's really because the TV stations in Malaysia, they only took it in by that time, you know. So by the time I was starting to watch it, it was so late. You know, it was so late that that they were new to me. They were new to people in Malaysia who has never watched anything else, because this is obviously before the internet, right? But but to anyone else, like, so to us it was new, but to everyone else who, like, you know, if you're in Japan watching, like, Kimba is like 80s show, it's an early 80s show.
Yes.
Right. So like, to you guys who, if you watched the first time when it first came out, it's like, what the hell is this? This is like 10 years old by the time I was watching it.
I see.
You know? So it's very, very different.
I mean, in this country they have like their own timeline, regulation, many things.
Right.
Because I'm trying to remember, because the Gundam, I think the Gundam first time I know is not by watching. It's not by watching the anime. It's some of the animes came like from the VHS during that time. But the like Wataru, Macross, Gundam, something like that. But the thing that made me know Gundam is actually came from Gunpla. During that time, we were going to the kid department at the mall.
Right.
So there we saw the robot with the cool antenna. and we know it's Gundam.
I'll be honest with you.
Also,
I'll be honest
Sure.
with you. I can't remember how I found out about Gundam anymore. Like I think I knew it was an anime before I saw the models. I'm not sure.
huh? You not
I'm
what?
not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether I knew it was an anime before I saw the models.
I see.
I'm not sure whether I knew about the models first or did I know about the anime first. I really don't remember.
Understand. Because it's very hard to find or watch. I know that only in Thailand we have like before I was born, they're airing the 007 1 year's war, the first Gundam on the public television. But that one I don't have memory about it. And some said like it's like before I was born. So okay, but eventually they have someone that upload on YouTube like the video, the file from that era, but it's just only one part, just only one episode, which is kind of feel like okay, the like the voice actor is really old and the translation is really weird. But understandable because it might came from like 40 or 50 years ago, like that. But as I told you, I think in Thailand we know Gundam not because of anime, but because of we go to the toy department.
Yeah, exactly, right. So but that's exactly it. Like how you mentioned that you got into Tamiya because of your dad and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
I knew I got into Tamiya because my schoolmates were into it. You know, I was like, oh, hey, this is fun toys, and I was just gonna like figure out how to make one. I never really got into the modification stuff, like not the heavy stuff.
I see.
I just did a little bit of it, and that's about it. But the anime came out, and I was watching it like crazy because I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really silly. But yeah, it never struck me as much as it might have for some other people. For me, my first impressions were all the cartoons I grew up with. But my exposure to cartoons were everything from. Actually, my first cartoons were exactly Kimba, Speed Racer, and Hanna-Barbera cartoons and all that kind of stuff. Then later, Pochi, before we go off, I also want to ask one quick thing. As a quick thing,
Sure.
when you were growing up, did they have sort of kid show presenters in Thailand where like they were like, oh hey, this is a segment sponsored by so and so, my name is whatever, this is what show we're going to be watching after this. Did you ever have that in Thailand?
Should I put this? Yes, we have before, and the one that the most popular actually after I become teenage, during the time of the Digimon.
Right.
You remember that time, right? The Digimon one. Everyone can like singing the Digimon song, right?
Right.
And I'm not sure because in Thailand we have our own version of the song.
So
We have our own version, and the singer is like, okay, as I told you, the TV channel that airing the anime for kids
right.
on the weekend. Yes, they're doing the song, and they have the kid presenter, and the kid presenter nowadays owning the animation companies. I mean, the publishing, the distributor in Thailand.
Wait. Sorry. What? Like he's the kid presenter owns the publisher in Thailand.
Yes.
So from presenting TV shows, he became basically the rights holder for some of these shows right now.
Yes. Because in Thailand we have like our version, and it's like, let me check. ออกอาวุธออกอาวุธที่
Right,
พั
go
ฒ
ahead.
นามาเป็นชุด
So the reason why I asked is because this is a funny thing that we like. I once again I've run this show for like 12 times, right? I've never got a chance. It's so rare that I it's because most of the time I let my guest and my or sometimes my co-host basically like walk us through, you know, what they want to share, kind of thing, you know, what they felt was important for them and things like that. But because I'm speaking to you, and like because I'm very curious about Thailand's history as well, like the kind of cultural like habits and events that happen in Thailand. Like one of the things that I never thought to ask for anyone else, especially those who were in Malaysia, was whether this was something that was true. Whether you guys had kid shows where, once again, presenters come in and say, "Hey, yeah, this entire segment is sponsored by, for example, KFC," because we had that. So then,
same.
Yeah, and then they will play a bunch of cartoons during that time, and it's Saturday morning cartoons, and then like I can't remember. I think X-Men was part of the KFC roll up for us last time, or something like that. Yeah, so like I was growing up, I was watching X-Men, and they would be part of that whole KFC segment and things like that. I just didn't know whether that was something true for Thailand as well.
On that, I remember. Okay, my memory is during when I was a kid. There's not yet the presenter, if I'm not wrong, or there's maybe a presenter already, like thinking about like the Disney Channel, something like that.
Right. Disney Channel had something like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but the okay for sure is during when I was a teenage, like the Digimon era, that time already have, and there's many like anime opening that translate into Thai, or having like Thai version, like a Wing also have like their song too.
Right.
And the kid okay, from my chat said like I think the kid presenter is like the family business. I mean they are the kid from the like the licensing holder.
Right.
And now they take control of the family business. If I'm not wrong, I'm not sure, to be honest. And during that time, the cable TV doesn't have the Japanese anime, but they're using like they have the Western cartoon instead, like Conan the Barbarian, something like that. But not
Oh my God, you guys got Conan the Barbarian? Holy shit!
Not the Savage version. Is the more like the hero version.
Yeah. No. Like that's freaking amazing because we never got it. I don't think we got it. Did we get it? I don't remember getting it.
Not sure. I mean, during that time, and then we have like the TV show. It's not a kid, but it's like the presenter,
Right?
like to talking to the audience, something like that.
Yeah. So your presenter basically took on the family business, and which was the family business, which was very specifically like being a rights holder, being a publisher for all these kind of shows and stuff like that, right?
If I'm not wrong, but to be honest, it's the same kid that singing the song and become the presenter. That's nowadays he's own the company that own the rights of the anime.
Pochi, I this is gonna sound very rude, but why does it sound like nepotism?
To be honest, is I think what do you mean patriotism?
Okay, so yeah, I figured that might be a word I need to explain to you. So nepotism is when someone is put in a particular role, or rather you give opportunities to people that belong in your own family as opposed to other people because they are your own family. So a very good example of this would be like, like if you're, for example, the big boss, right? And like the CEO of a large company or something like that, and then you're like, I need a division chief. Instead of finding somebody inside the company, you give it to your son.
To be honest, it's normal thing happen here.
Well, I mean, okay.
So
look,
it's
right. No, look.
I can't say okay. It can be like the it can be the negative thing.
Yeah.
In the other hand, it's a normal thing that happened.
No. So I want to make a very important point here first, right? Okay. So I say so usually when people talk about nepotism, they're usually talking about it in a bad way, because what happens is that usually they talk about how these people are put in the roles when they have no qualifications for it. You know, so like they're not, they have no history with the company, they don't know how to do the work, they're just going to be horrible in the role, and they're only given it so that like they have a, like it's because the father wants to take care of the son or something like that, you know, that kind of thing. That's what usually when we talk about nepotism, that's what we're talking about. There is a very reasonable way to look at it where it's like, oh, it's a family business, like you say, it's a family business, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I train my son to take care of the business, so I'm giving him the role, you know. That's a very reasonable approach towards it.
Yes.
You know? So it's not to say it cannot be done. I'm just saying that like it sounds like from what you said, like it's all the opportunities are given to the child, and like could somebody do it better? I can't tell because I've never watched it.
Because okay, from my friend, the anime historian,
Right.
he said like because on that era, I mean, this happened like during the 90s.
Yeah.
On that era, it's not like we have like the children's star, the star kid that doing the presenter for the show. If not, they're going to very expensive. If they are the kid star. So instead of hiring outside, they just push someone from inside.
Okay, I want to ask on this one. So on that note, right, just as a quick check here,
Sure.
Was there a lot of shows in Thailand at the time, right, that was dubbed into Thai, or is it just subbed?
Dub.
It's all dubbed. It's all dubbed into
Yes,
Thai.
dub.
That is fantastic because, so here's the thing. Most shows in Malaysia, as far as my memory goes, were, I think a lot of them did use the English dubs for a while. Like I remember Pokemon was broadcasted in English in Malaysia. Doraemon was the first one that I can remember that was dubbed in BM.
Oh.
Yeah. So and then Sailor Moon was dubbed in BM as well when it did come out in Malaysia. I think I remembered, like, so at one point Malaysia had cable TV, and the cable channels that were doing anime stuff, they themselves also dubbed it. So I think like a couple of shows that stood out was like Akatsuki Chacha. That one was dubbed in BM as well. When AXN came to Malaysia, I don't remember whether that was dubbed. I think that might have been subbed.
AXN is supposed to be dubbed in English, if I'm not wrong.
Correct. So that's why I think I remember, like, they either took it in English or the original Japanese, and then they were only subbed, if I'm not mistaken.
I see.
So, but
because in Thailand, it's always dubbed in Thai, and we have like the legendary. This is also a long story, bro. How about next time, next week, or anytime I want to talking about this, I want to tell you about our legendary Seiyu.
Okay, that's a date. We're running out of time tonight, so that is going to be a date.
Yep.
We are going to reschedule a new one as soon as we can. I don't know when that's going to be, but we'll make one.
Let me check my schedule too.
Yes, let me know. Your schedule is more busy than mine, so you let me know when you're available, all right? So let's continue this discussion again soon, because there seems to be a lot to go into. We haven't even, as I said, so far I think we stopped in the 2010s. Our story has stopped down to the 2010s, so that's like 10 years worth of story that we haven't even shared about yet.
Sometimes it's just jump back and forth.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah.
So for just as a quick wrap up, so I didn't get any questions. I'm gonna leave it at that. But for everyone who has joined us tonight, I hope you had a wonderful time. If you want more Pochi stuff, his links, his socials are actually linked in the description down below. His Twitter account, his Facebook, his YouTube. Please go there and like and subscribe. If you like what we've been doing here, please like and subscribe here on this channel as well. Next session that I will be having is 2 weeks from now. This is actually my usual schedule where I stream this segment, this specifically Geeks at Sea segment, once every 2 weeks. The next segment I'm going to have is a very unique one because I'm not going to be talking about anime as much. Instead, who I have is that I have actually one of the people involved in the Singapore Games Association. Her name is Cheryl. And she was one of the she's a person that was very involved in the Singapore games industry in this last decade or so. She finally stepped down, and we were talking, and we were like, oh yeah, let's share some stories from behind the scenes about games development growing up in Singapore and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, so 2 weeks from now, that's which is August 16th. Yes, is it 16th? Yeah, 16th. So 2 weeks from now, I'll be having Cheryl on. Look forward to that.
Sure.
Yeah. Then Tak, when Tak finally has a window for me again, we'll have this again soon.
Okay. Actually, there's a lot of things I want to share.
I want to hear so much.
Also about gaming industry in Thailand too.
Actually, so here's the thing. I know we're supposed to wrap up, but I feel like if we're talking about the games industry in Thailand, I have so many questions because the fact is, and this is industry information, yeah. For those who don't know, yeah.
Yes.
If you are looking to publish games in Southeast Asia, the two biggest markets that everyone looks at, number one. Actually, it's top three. No, top three. Let's talk top three. Top three. Number one is actually Singapore. Because of spending power. Because of the Singapore dollar makes spending power very easy. So like if you're doing microtransactions, especially in games in the games industry, targeting Singapore, which you usually do it in English, is a favorite because people are very able. They can afford the money lah. So that's true in Singapore. Then it becomes a two-way split between Thailand and Indonesia. These are the top three in the markets in Southeast Asia. The reason why this is split, and the reason why this is split is because Indonesia makes up for it in population, meaning that the number of people in Indonesia is so many because population density is so high that most people, like even if everyone spends 1 cent, you still earn a lot of money. Then the other side is Thailand. Thailand is a little bit more harder because to get into Thailand, obviously you need to do Thai.
Yes.
But it is the one of the most developed industries in Southeast Asia.
Just Bangkok, I think.
That's fair. So by the way, which is why actually when we first started this segment, one of the questions I was asking is like, oh, this is based in Bangkok, right? Like, so, and yeah. So a lot of these kind of things, sometimes we are looking at things purely from the cities, and that's a very different conversation also as well, because there's a lot of stuff a lot of the things that we're sharing with you are based in Kuala Lumpur, which is one of the main capitals in Malaysia, which is a lot more developed than a lot of other places. I'm actually looking to try and see whether I can find people to talk about Sabah and Sarawak, which is a different market altogether, which has its own very, very interesting stories, I believe. Yeah. So anyways, with that, we can continue on already after this, if this is the case. Anyway,
okay, then
let's just
maybe next time.
Yes, let's do this
after we finish the stream.
Yes. So, Pochi, do you have anything you want to share before we go off? Is there anything you want to talk about before we go off? The last things.
Thank you for coming, everyone. This is my first English podcast. So, okay, hopefully if I'm do something wrong or maybe because of the language barrier, I might mistranslate my intention. I would like to apologize. That's all. And for my audience, okay, let me speak in Thai just a bit. สำหรับทุกท่านที่มารับชมกันอยู่นะครับก็ลิงก์อยู่ในช่อง description แล้วไม่ว่าตอนนี้มันจะไปอยู่ทางตรงไหนก็ตามนะฮะก็ฝากกดไลค์กดแชร์กด subscribe แล้วก็กดดูในส่วนของทางช่องของทางคุณจาเรตแล้วก็ oh shit I forgot that I never mentioned you as Jared
It's fine. Don't worry.
ก็ช่วยกดของทางคุณบิมจิสตรีมไว้ด้วยนะครับ เพราะว่าเดี๋ยวเผื่อถ้าเกิดว่าใครที่สามารถฟังภาษาอังกฤษได้แล้วก็จะได้มาฟังพอดแคสต์เรื่องราวต่างๆไปด้วยกัน so I just tell everyone that please go subscribe and because you have the podcast with the about the behind the scene and the about the industry in Malaysia.
Yeah, so a lot of it we haven't managed to go. I'll be honest here. So first, you're not doxing me. Don't worry. I do introduce myself as Jared more than half the time, so it's perfectly fine.
Okay. Sorry.
So that's number one. Number two, a lot of what we have done so far, we've talked about a lot of history. A lot of the segments I've done a lot of history about the development of culture and events here within the region. But I have not covered as much of the industry as I think I would have preferred. This is an ongoing project, something that I hope I can continue on doing for a while. So any amount of support that you guys can show would be great. Thank you very much.
Please consider subscribe. Like that. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you ครับ Thank you ครับ
Thank you guys very much. Till next time then. I hope I get to see you guys again soon. Tak, please let me know when you have a window again. I hope to be able to continue this conversation with you again very, very soon. For everyone else, thank you guys very much. Have a wonderful weekend ahead of you guys. Good night. Ing bong.
Bye bye